सरदार हमीदिन टीम है Zurwan, how are you? Better? So shall we start, please? This is the team from Ethiopia,
yes,
largely.
Huh? Yes, Oromo community. Oromo community.
Which community?
Oromo.
Koromo.
Oromo.
Oromo.
Yes.
Is it all Oromo? All of you?
Yeah.
Oromo.
Yeah. Mr. Taha Abdi has been here before.
Of
he
course,
has met us over, yes. He's the
But would you tell me more about Oromo community, because the audience would also, I think, be interested in knowing more about you as community.
As a community.
Is it a tribe or a religious community?
It's both. It's more than both.
Both.
It's a nation, really.
It's not.
A nation.
It's not a community.
In the sense that a community is a group of people,
That's
just
all,
a collective. It is a community.
But actually, with reference to African usage of these expressions, do you call yourself there as Jamaat or as a Qabila or as a sect or what?
People. We are a people, a large group of people.
Also, you are
more than 20 million of them.
This is over.
Different clans and.
It's the title community does not fully introduce you, properly introduce you as in relation to a country. A large group as large as yours should be referred to as the people of the land, as such. You are the people who inhabit Ethiopia.
Most part of Ethiopia.
Most of it, that's it. That's right, that's good.
Yeah. So
we have to be all Oromos.
Yeah.
It's another name for being an Ethiopian, practically.
Well, there are different groups, of course, other than Oromo.
How many altogether?
All in all, it's well over 40 million.
40 million?
Yeah.
Now?
Yes.
And you make about 1 million?
We make about half of that, close to half of.
20 million?
No. Yeah. Over 20. Over 20 million.
That's good.
Rough estimation.
Also, does it draw a dividing line between Muslims and Christians?
We have people of both faiths.
In both?
Muslims and Christians.
Yes, that's right.
Among the Oromo.
And are you also divided into various tribes and clans?
Yes.
Within Oromos?
Within Oromo, yes.
And do you also share the same tribes across into the others?
There are Oromo in different areas outside the countries now within Ethiopia called Oromia.
Oromia.
But there are Oromo people who are outside Oromia.
That's right.
A small group of them in different states.
That's right. All right. Thank you for this introduction and this. I've gained a lot of knowledge about Ethiopia and how internally they are divided. But there is no jealousy or tradition of hostility between these two large inhabitants of Ethiopia.
Well, Ethiopia, the way it is today, modern Ethiopia was created only about 100 years ago. Ethiopian rulers, the emperors, conquered our land, our people were made serfs for almost 100 years. It is just recently that our area within Ethiopia is recognized as a separate state within Ethiopia through long years of struggle. So it's just recent that we are starting to get our rights.
As an independent nation?
We are not yet independent.
I see.
We are not yet independent. We are still ruled by Ethiopians who come from the north of our country, Oromia. But we got this recognition now that we have a separate country within Ethiopia, a state. Ethiopia has now 9 states. Isn't it?
Yes. 9 states.
One of the 9 states, one of the large ones is Oromia. So
right.
this is
So
the first
this is a
economy.
state within a country,
A state within a country, yes.
but having the largest population,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
You are closer to the border of Somalia.
Yes.
That's
close.
right.
We border the Ogaden.
That's right, yes.
And Somalia.
Within, that's right. So now the division of 50-50 as far as population goes is misleading as far as the area goes. Area-wise, largely you are confined to one single state called Oromia,
Yes.
and the rest, most of the other states are in command, in control of your ex-rulers,
Yes.
and they are not Oromians.
They are not Oromians.
That's right.
The rulers are
Right,
not
yes,
Oromians.
that's right. What is their tribe or identity?
For most part of this century, it was the Amhara who had the predominance in political terms.
They're Amhara. This is why the language is called Amharic.
Amharic, yes.
That's right, yes.
Now, since about 4 years ago, since '91, the Tigrans, their cousins, took over now.
I see, from Amharas.
From Amhara, the Tigrans took over.
Right.
So they are running Oromia and the rest of.
You know, during our campaign to publish the Holy Quran into about 100 languages of the world, I first of all came into touch with this word Amharic. And then my investigations told me that Amharas are the ruling party of Ethiopia, and this is their language.
Right.
So we had it translated with the help of some Ethiopians who had migrated to East Africa, and whose language was Amharic. So, but in your language, Oromia, I don't think there is any translation of the Quran.
Now there is.
No, Ahmadiyya translation of the
Selections of the Holy Quran.
selections. It's not the full Quran translated. It's only the selections, selected verses of the Holy Quran, as it is
Yes.
entitled. Yes. But do you have other translations into your language made by some other scholars earlier? Never?
There is one now. There is one now. It is on record and it's being published. I'm not yet sure if it is already published, but there is a scholar who completed the translation. Several scholars tried, ulamas tried, but one became successful, Sheikh Muhammad Rashad Abdullah.
Right.
He completed the translation on audio cassettes.
Yes, that's right.
And now it is being
It is in the form of
published.
audio recorded cassette, not yet published, not yet printed and published.
it is, I heard,
Transcribed.
it's transcribed and being published.
I have seen a copy of it.
Published.
Oromo
Published
language
already.
from Kenya.
Right.
The full
Full.
text. Yeah.
And how many people of the Oromia entity can read and write Oromia language?
Now the percentage should be quite large. Previously our language was forbidden. We could not use our language.
That is
outside
why
the
I
house.
remember, that is why no attempt was made by us earlier
Yeah.
to have this published, because I was told that practically there won't be any readers available.
Yes.
It was neither taught in the schools nor elsewhere. Anywhere, no newspaper or magazine was published in your language.
Yes.
So that is what discouraged us from having a full translation of the Holy Quran into Oromia. Now I think it's time. Now things are changing, aren't they? Now your schools have started teaching
Yes.
written language, and do you have some books or
Yes.
magazines,
Yes.
newspapers?
Now, yes.
Now you have. Good.
Yes.
So note it down that it's now time for us to go for the full translation. So shall we start with the questions,
Start
please?
with your questions. Whatever you want to ask.
Okay. Maybe I'll ask about something that is far from our homeland.
Yes.
Just in the context of the larger diversity of Islam between Sunni and Shia, will you, sir, explain where the community stands, where the Ahmadiyya community stands in the jurisprudence.
Okay, inshallah, but you largely belong to the Sunnite
Largely, yes.
group or Sunnite deviant. Is that right?
Yes.
So, as such, we belong there, where you belong. As far as the deviant between Sunnites and Shiites is concerned, that's largely based on the belief of the truth of the first three caliphs or otherwise. The Shiites reject them as hypocrites, in fact as chiefs of hypocrites, because all those who got initiated at the hands of Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, Hazrat Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and Hazrat Usman radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, the Shiites declare all those who got initiated at their hands were hypocrites, were non-Muslims for all practical purposes. So their leader was the leader of the hypocrites, one after the other, Hazrat Abu Bakr, then Umar, then Usman. So it is an article of their faith to abuse them, and if they abuse them, they are blessed by Allah. So the only abuse which in the religious history is known to have gained Allah's favors is the abuse of these three holiest of holy people after Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in that age. This is in nutshell the Shia belief which separates the Sunni Islam from the Shia Islam. The positive side of their belief is that Hazrat Ali Radhiyallahu Ta'ala Anhu remained caliph unbroken immediately after the demise of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He became a caliph whether he was accepted as such or not. But he stands for the unbroken continuity of Khilafat Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that is his being Khalifatullah, and his successors as Khulafa to begin from the time of his demise onwards. So in this relationship, they believe Hazrat Ali is the very first authentic appointed Khalifa of God who did not need any election, because Khilafat was betrothed to him by Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah. It was willed by Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah that he would be the Khalifa. And also eternally he was decreed to be the Khalifa, designed by God to be Khalifa. So anyone who happens to stand in between and separate them is, after all, they say, is an impostor, a hypocrite, and this and that. This is their belief. As against that, the Sunnite belief is that it's all sheer nonsense. They damage their own faith when they abuse the holiest of holy people which Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah left behind. That is the Khulafa Rashideen. And they have gone astray. So we belong to that division of Islam, to which I'm glad to hear also you and your community people belong. Correct? Ahmadiyyat, where does it stand? It stands somewhere above this division, because here the division takes a new shape and new form. Ahmadiyyat is on one side, and all the Sunnites and all the Shiites put together are on the other. You see, this is a very strange division after division's process in Islam, which many a time puts many a warring sect together in one pocket and singles out one sect on the other side. Now, this is how it happens. Despite their differences, despite their disagreement on who was the rightful Khalifa, immediately after the demise of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah, they all, both of them and all of them, agree that for the future, Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had prophesied the advent of a promised Mahdi and the advent of a promised Messiah, who, according to them, was to come, or they believe they are two different things, not two titles of the one person. They say there are two different titles. One concerning the Mahdi concerns a man who will be born in the Ummah of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah and who would be raised to the status of Al-Mahdi by God Himself. The second, about the Jesus Christ, they believe, Jesus, son of Mary, who, according to them, has not yet died, who, according to them, was raised to the heaven by God and who was saved the trial of crucifixion by being lifted to the fourth heaven. So they believe it is the same Jesus Christ, the follower of Moses and Torah, who would come to redeem the Ummah of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah from perfect total destruction at the end of the days. He would come and he would be the savior of the Ummah. So these two different personalities, according to them, are yet to come, yet to appear. Now, we only partly agree with them and partly we differ with them. So here, when I say them, I mean both the Sunnite and the Shiite Muslims all enrolled together. And we, standing alone on the other side of the drawn line, we believe it is true, most certainly. The prophecies were made about some saviors in the future, in the latter days of Islam, with reference to the time of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah. But we believe they were not two different persons, in fact. We believe Jesus was never bodily raised to any heaven anywhere. It was his spiritual rise to God which was mentioned under the word Rafa. So if you understand that the word Rafa, as used in the Holy Quran and in Hadith, when God is made the subject and man is made the object, then Rafa means lifting of one's status, endearment. So anybody who is marfu ilallah, if he is a human being, it means that he has become dearer and closer to Allah. So this is another part of our debate, but I don't want to go into the detail of this discussion. But remember this, that the controversy rages around this issue whether Jesus Christ is alive or dead. We prove, with the help of so many verses of the Holy Quran, the traditions, the history, and also the New Testament, with the help of all these fundamental sources, we prove that Jesus of Nazareth, son of Mary, the prophet of Israelites, is dead. He did not die upon cross, as the Holy Quran said, certainly not. But he was saved from the death upon cross and migrated towards the earliest Jewish tribes who had migrated earlier and gone in the direction of Afghanistan and Kashmir, etc., etc. Now, this is a part of history which is now established. The Israelites, many hundred years before Jesus Christ, had largely migrated from the mainland And in fact, they were taken out as prisoners by Nebuchadnezzar, but later on they were released and many of them migrated eastwards. So the 10 lost tribes of Israelites were mentioned by Jesus Christ himself as the 10 tribes, lost sheep of the house of Israel. These are the lost tribes to whom Jesus Christ refers when he says, I am going to leave you and go in search of the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So we believe that after the crucifixion, when God saved him miraculously from death upon cross, he survived his injuries. He migrated from there. Where? Towards heaven or towards where earlier the lost sheep of Israel had gone? We believe he kept his promise. He was a true prophet of Allah. How could he make a false promise to his own people? So when he said he would leave them and go to the lost sheep of Israel, that is exactly where he must have gone. No lost sheep is ever traced to have risen to heaven at all. So why should he have broken his own promise? He was not an ordinary person. Even ordinary decent people don't break their promises. But to expect it of a prophet of Allah is impossible. So he did not die upon the cross. This is where we are united, of course, no disagreement. But was taken down from the cross in a state of doubtful status, whether he was alive or dead, in a state of confusion, where he simulated dead, not intentionally, but he was in a state of coma, so in a manner of speaking, he was simulating the dead when he was taken down. وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. This is the meaning of shubbiha as we read. The entire act of crucifixion was made obscure by God. So neither the Jews nor the Christians know exactly what happened. Obscurity covers the whole incident. And the meaning of obscurity and shubha is so well known to the whole world. But to make it further sure that this is exactly what Allah means, not a shabih, but shubha meaning doubt. The Holy Quran tells us, وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ وَإِنَّ الَّذِينَ اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ لَفِي شَكٍّ مِّنْهُ. Shubha means shak. مَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ إِلَّا اتِّبَاعَ الظَّنِّ. Dhan is also conjecture. إِلَّا اتِّبَاعَ الظَّنِّ. وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ. یقین اس سے پہلے ایک اور بھی لفظ تھا, یہی تھی, تین ہی ہیں. اچھا, let me read it out again once. وَإِنَّ الَّذِينَ اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. One word, shubha. وَإِنَّ الَّذِينَ اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ لَفِي شَكٍّ مِّنْهُ مَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ إِلَّا اتِّبَاعَ الظَّنِّ وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ يَقِينًا. Correct? Now, opposite of yaqeen is shubha. Certainty and lack of certainty. Yaqeen stands for certainty and lack of certainty is the opposite of yaqeen. So the Holy Quran rejects yaqeen and leaves room for uncertainty. So this is the description of the Holy Quran which repeatedly emphasizes the point that what happened on the cross is not known with certainty to any people in the world. It is all obscured. Even the eyewitnesses of the period don't know exactly what happened. They're in a state of doubt. They're just guessing. And as far as the certainty is concerned, it is no other than the fact that he was definitely not killed, definitely not murdered. Correct? So if he was not definitely murdered, then he must have survived the cross. Then where did he go? To heaven or to the routes taken earlier by the lost sheep of the house of Israel? We say to the second alternative, yes. There is no sense in going to heaven, leaving his own people abandoned and without having delivered the message to them. He was a prophet for the whole of Israelites, not only for the 2 tribes who were present around him at the time of his birth there in Palestine. So obviously, in fact, most certainly, he addressed his ministry during the known period of his life only to the 2 tribes of Israel out of 12. The 10 had migrated earlier to the unknown lands at that time, unknown, but now very well known. Jesus promised them that he would pursue them and finish his ministry by delivering the message. Now, once he is taken down alive from the cross, why should he forget his message and go to heaven? Why should he break his promise? So he must be traced along those paths which lead to the ultimate settlements of Israelites after their migration from their homeland. So we believe Jesus lived a long, ripe age after the fact of crucifixion, completed his ministry, and fulfilled the task for which he was sent, which according to the Holy Quran was وَرَسُولًا إِلَى بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلِ. He was a Rasul to the whole people of Israel. So he could not have died without fulfilling his mission. And that is what we believe he did. And then, of course, he died a natural death like all the other prophets of Allah. Now, this second part we also prove with the help of some very categorical declaration of the Holy Quran. Ma Muhammadun illa Rasul, qad khalat min qablihi ar-rusul. See, all of them are gone, finished. All before Jesus, Muhammad were finished, died, and other verses than these. So we believe that Jesus was not to descend from heaven in the latter days, literally. It was only a metaphorical expression that Jesus would come, because Jesus had also promised his re-advent. So the Holy Prophet was told by Allah, this re-advent will take place in your ummah, not outside. And that is a style of prophecy. A prophet says, I would come again. Naturally, people think he would come to his own people. While he had finished his ministry, had gone back, his age was over, now he has no right to come elsewhere but in the living religion of the time, and that is Islam. So this is why the prophecies refer to Jesus, son of Mary, because it was Jesus, son of Mary, who had prophesied that he would come. If he was not referred to at all, then Christians will take that prophecy to mean that a separate Jesus of their own would come and a separate Jesus of Muslims would come. But that is not what was meant at all. So that is why we believe that Jesus Christ, who was to come, was to be born in the Ummah and was to be a metaphorical Christ, a Christ in character and in style. So there is no need for for 2 separate entities. Why shouldn't he be taken as the Al-Mahdi? If he is to be born in the Ummah, why divide between the two? Why have two persons instead of one? And amazingly, to our help comes the hadith of Ibn Majah. Of course, it was not doctored by any Ahmadi. You could say that they have introduced or changed some hadiths. The hadith of Ibn Majah I referred to, which is one of the Sahih Sitta, of the 6 authentic books. Lal Mahdiyo illa Isa. There will be no Mahdi other than Isa himself. Who introduced this hadith into the book is known among the books of authenticity, authentic books. A thousand years or more before Ahmadiyyat came into being. It was God. It was the word of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because nobody could have even wildly imagined that Jesus and Mahdi could be the same person at that period. You see, it did not serve the purpose of any impostor to have instructed the people that Jesus and Mahdi are not going to be two different people, because most of the people in that age had already started believing in the life of Jesus Christ. You see? So all these, it's just a small specimen of how we argue and what we base our beliefs upon. But I'm telling you the difference is, we believe Jesus will be a metaphorical reappearance, a person from among the Ummah of Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the holiest of his devotees and dedicated to Islam, would be raised by Allah, both as Al-Mahdi and the promised Messiah. In one capacity, he will fulfill the prophecies relating to the coming of Al-Mahdi. In another capacity, he will fulfill the prophecies relating to the coming of Messiah, breaking the cross, launching a worldwide movement to break the bone of Christianity, not the real one, but the imaginary Christianity, the Pauline Christianity, not the Christianity which the disciples of Jesus Christ inherited from him, but the Christianity which was invented later on and was developed largely under Roman influences. So this is in a nutshell the difference. The last one, further deepening the dividing line, is the fact that we believe that Jesus has come. We believe that promised Mahdi has already appeared. And they tell you, wait on, while you have wasted 1400 years waiting, why not another 200,000 years maybe? So keep waiting. One day he would come. And he would come dangling from the heaven, personally in body. So it's up to you to decide which division you belong to. The one across the line believes in metaphorical expressions, which believes in the symbolic prophecies which have always been delivered to man in such languages, in parables and symbols, and they always get fulfilled. But the literal prophecies have never been fulfilled, neither here nor there. For example, Elijah was to come from heaven before Jesus Christ. And the Old Testament had clearly predicted that before the coming of the Christ, Elijah will descend from heaven, like most of the Muslims, you including, are awaiting the personal, physical descent of Jesus Christ from somewhere. So also the Jews were exactly in the similar situation, exactly as the Muslims of today are. They were awaiting a similar descent, physically, bodily descent of an earlier prophet who they believe had gone to the heaven. None came. And the Jews are still striking their heads against the walls, crying for the fulfillment of that promise. Oh God, send us the Elia. Without Elia, Christ can never come. But what happened? Elia did come, but not as they had expected. Not bodily descending from heaven, but being born to the house of Zechariah in the name of Yahya. And it was to Yahya alayhi salam and Zechariah alayhi salam, son of Zechariah alayhi salam, that Jesus referred to and said, he's the Elia. Believe it or not, it's up to you. He's the one promised to descend from heaven prior to my advent. And the prophecy is fulfilled. So in the light of all this, I again leave it open to you, of course. There's no question of religion, but ponder over this and choose which side of the line you would rather prefer to be. The one who has seen the prophecies fulfilled, and the group smaller indeed, but always expanding, day by day. The one which has already covered more than 150 countries of the world, which is leading the fight of Islam against all other religions of the world. So would you like to be there, or to the large numbers, of course, very large numbers as compared to us? Thank you. Please.
Could you kindly enlighten me on the distinctive features of the Ahmadiyya community?
Distinctive features. Some already I have discussed. The other distinctive features, not necessarily lying in the controversial areas, but in general, would be, I think, beneficial. Because on the debatable, controversial issues I have spoken so many times, but less on the other sides of Ahmadiyyat. Ahmadiyyat believes in a live God who does come into a live contact with his people whenever they fulfill the prerequisites, which is they behave piously and dedicatedly. They stick to not only the value, the form of Islam, but also to the spirit of Islam. Then God reveals himself to all such people. Whenever he so chooses, he listens to their prayers, fulfills the promises he makes to them. They don't have to follow a route of a peer, of a holy divine. But every man who humbles himself to God begins to experience these spiritual contacts with Allah by way of ilham, by way of wahi, by way of divinely revealed dreams, by way of visions, and also by way of intuitions. Sometimes such people pray and they are immediately, intuitively told by Allah that your prayer is heard. No words are spoken, no vision is seen, yet it happens exactly as they had prayed. So these are the forms of communion with Allah which Ahmadiyyat believes have suddenly become alive. After a long break where such experiences were only confined to some divine people, holy people here and there, they have become again generalized, like at the time of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because we believe we belong to the Akhirin or Akhirin. وَآخَرِينَ مِنْهُمْ لَمَّا يَلْحَقُوا بِهِمْ. We are those people of the Akhirin, of the second type of people who were to be raised from the dead by Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in his second advent in the form of Al-Mahdi. So that is one distinctive feature. We lay very strong stress on dua, and we combine this Sufism with the literal practices of Islamic injunctions. So there is no deviance within Ahmadiyyat of the Sufis who emphasize the spirit and the mullahs who emphasize the form. We believe that real Islam began in a united state, not United States, in a united state of religion's indivisible entity. That was in the form of the religion of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. If somebody tells you, was he a Sufi, asks you, was he a Sufi or a Maulvi? None, neither. He was Islam, a living Islam, where no deviance take place between Sufism and occult and mysterious and the simple form of Islam which can be practiced by every person. So we believe Ahmadiyyat is a recontinuation or a revival of the same style of Islamic practices which we find in the early history of Islam, that is, during the lifetime of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We believe that the Quran must be understood as a word of God who knew what He had created. So the Quran could not be interpreted in any way where it contradicted the act of God, which is nature. So any interpretation of the Holy Quran which contradicts the nature, the universe created by Allah, has to be wrong. So the Quranic claim that there is no contradiction in the creation of Allah is literally followed by us without the least exception. So when you read the Quranic commentaries written by Ahmadis as against the commentaries of others who have not been enlightened with the guidance which Allah enlightened the Imam Mahdi with, this is what the major difference or distinctive feature of Ahmadiyyat you will notice. Every explanation of the Holy Quran is rationally supported. Every explanation of the Holy Quran is in perfect unison with the world created around us. There is no contradiction between true established scientific laws and the Quranic laws. And if you want to see this in perfect agreement, that is the word of God and the act of God. By word of God we understand the divine books. By act of God we understand the nature as it is revealed to us, created by Allah. See? So this is a very beautiful distinctive feature of Ahmadiyyat, that you will not find any contradiction between the Quran and the nature. And the third very important distinctive feature of Ahmadiyyat is that we believe that no prophet of Allah was blemished with any intentional sin against God. They were all innocent. And none of them ever broke the laws of the Sharia which was revealed to him. There seems to be only one exception, that of Adam. But there again, the Holy Quran says, وَلَمْ نَجِدْ لَهُ عَزْمًا. He made a mistake, of course, but we did not find in him a willful intention to break the law. He was deceived. So there is one exception, but that also happened through deception of the Satan. Otherwise, all prophets of Allah firmly adhere to the revelation which is revealed, is vouched to them, or the book to which they belong. But in this context, you will be amazed, or in fact, you will be absolutely deeply disappointed in many a commentary of the Holy Quran written by non-Ahmadis, where they tell you Hazrat Ibrahim spoke 3 lies, where they'll tell you that Hazrat Lut did this, and Hazrat Yusuf was about to commit that thing, and somebody did this and somebody did that, and Hazrat Dawood, Nauzubillah, committed that crime, and Hazrat Sulaiman committed that crime. Now, the whole history of the prophethood would turn into examples of people who defied the word of God, while they claim throughout their lives that do not defy the word of God. Read Ahmadiyya commentary and then you will see the distinctive line, the line which divides Ahmadiyya view of the Quran from those who do not believe in Ahmadiyya. There are so many examples, I can't count them, because it's beyond my scope of counting, where Ahmadi interpretation, if you read it as against the non-Ahmadi interpretation, will touch your soul profoundly, where you'll feel enlightened. You say, yes, this is what as a human being I can accept. So you will not have to live in an imaginary world of impossibilities. You live in the real world that is the creation of Allah. That is another difference between Ahmadis and non-Ahmadis. Another distinctive line is, a distinctive feature is, that we believe in the holy war, not in the unholy war fought in the name of holiness. All terrorism we declare is an unholy war, fall into the category of an unholy war fought or advocated in the name of Allah the Holy. The holiest. Holiness springs from Allah. When we call a person holy, only it is in a relative term, but truly holy is Allah. So in that context I am saying that we believe that anything attributed to Him has to be holy. And yes, your calling that holy wouldn't mean anything. The wars can only be holy which are non-aggressive, which are absolutely just, and which commit no crimes against the innocent. And as such, most of the wars fought in the name of Allah, declared to be the jihad, are obviously wrong. They are not jihad. How would you call the jihad between Iran and Iraq? Both claimed it to be a holy war. Against whom? Against Muslims. Muslims against Muslims. Saudi declared a holy war against Iraq. Iraq declared a holy war against Saudi and its allies. And in that holy war, Saudi was fully supported by non-Muslims. All joined hands in the holy war of atrocity against the poor people of Iraq. So this is how you are misled into most terrible disasters if you do not interpret the Holy Quran correctly. That is why it's highly essential for you to become Ahmadis today rather than tomorrow. Because unless your views are brought in perfect accord with the teachings of the Quran, no guarantee for your security and peace in the world of Islam can be granted to you. First, understand what is being said. Understand the message. What does it tell you? If you hear half a message or through others who have distorted it already, and the message is go to the west and you start moving to the east, will you fulfill the message? If the message tells you to run away from the precipice of destruction, and the one who conveys the message to you is, it means run towards the precipice of destruction, how could you fulfill your promise of keeping true to the message? And how will you be able to benefit from it at all? So there are the few examples of distinctive features of Ahmadiyyat. Once you study them in detail, you will find them yourself occupied with a large area of study and comparison. And more you do so, more you will emerge enlightened, inshallah, and then you will begin to see that you had always been an Ahmadi within. Because every answer given by the Ahmadiyyat would be bringing peace to you, peace to your mind and heart. A sort of response will arise from within you. Well, yes, I think this is where I was born. I have been thinking of the same terms all along, but only hearing from others what Islam was had sort of obscured my views. So the inner truth, at every time that you study a distinctive attitude of Ahmadiyyat as against others, your inner truth will rise and stand witness to the truth of Ahmadiyyat, inshallah. Please.
Thank you, Your Holiness. My question is actually, you have mentioned about wars and human rights violation in the world today. And due to the human rights violation, many people are just have been displaced or killed, judged,
suffering a lot.
Yeah, suffering a lot. And really, what do the Ahmadiyya Jamaat think about this, and what the Ahmadiyya Jamaat did, and or what is what the movement is trying to do about this?
You see, already I have spoken on this subject in answer to the questioner before you. We believe that Islam is a religion of peace. This is its name. And peace it is in relation to human beings, and peace it is in relation to God. So anything which contradicts the very basic feature of Islam, which is, embedded in its name, could not be Islam. Would be anything else. So Islam being the religion of the whole world, it also ensues from this that according to Islam, this faith brought to us from heaven sent from heaven by Allah through Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, must be a message of peace for the whole mankind. If it is not so, then Islam is not universal. If it is so, where is the room for the violation of human rights in relation to Islamic injunctions? Where is the room for war or territorial aggression against one another, or war of ideological aggression against one another? They're all totally, absolutely in contradiction of the very word Islam. So we believe that fundamental human rights are guaranteed in the name of Islam, and any contrary understanding of Islam would definitely not be Islamic. So as such, we work for the causes of human rights, whether they are pursued by Muslims or non-Muslims, Christians or non-Christians. That makes it irrelevant. We believe in the fundamental message of Islam regarding such issues. Ta'alaw ila kalimatin sawa'in bainana wa bainakum. Come, let us join hands in those things which are common among us. So fundamental rights are common to all religions and common to all human beings. And this verse of Allah enjoins upon us, leaves no room for us to do of deviation from this, that whenever you hear the call of joining hands on a common cause, do join hands and do ta'awun, that is, offer cooperation. So this is why Ahmadiyyat is working hand in hand with all such organizations, not entirely but only in response to their calls. We also contribute. You say if it's a good human cause, a fight for the restoration of lost or lost human rights or usurped human rights, of course we are with you. Right? Please.
Sir, could you tell us what your views are on Christmas? You have already mentioned about Jesus after crucifixion.
You see, Christmas unfortunately is no religious celebration at all. And every year now the Christians themselves have many programs on television admitting it, confessing it in so many words, that it is not religious at all, only it is a celebration which has been taken over by Christianity from some not only non-religious but in fact pagan faiths and their practices. So this period has been a pagan period of celebration which is related to not to God but to the imaginary god of sun and sun worship, etc., etc. Because they happen to celebrate during these days, so the Christianity decided to hijack these days from them onto Christianity. And this is exactly what they did. They said if we say it is our celebration, the whole issue will be confused and people will naturally join us because during these days they are accustomed to celebrate. So instead of celebrating in some other name, why not celebrate in the name of Christ? While they know full well that Jesus was not born or crucified in this period. Neither of the two.
Mm-hmm.
You see? It has nothing to do with the crucifixion of Jesus Christ or the birth of Jesus Christ. The birth took place during this spring season, and crucifixion took place during the autumn. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it the vice versa? Vice versa, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you're right. Suddenly when I said it, I remember the verse of the Holy Quran which speaks of Huzi ilayki bijizin nakhlate. So, by mistake I said it, but the fact is, according to the Holy Quran, the birth took place during the autumn.
Mm-hmm.
So, this celebration of nativity of Jesus Christ or birth of Jesus Christ during Christmas is wide off the margin by 2 to 3 months. See? His birth took place according to the Quran during the autumnal season, when the palm trees, the date palm trees were still laden with fruit, and people could sleep open in the open. The season had not yet changed to the winter, as we call the winter season. So this is our attitude. As far as sending them greetings is concerned, no harm whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when some people are celebrating their days and it has become a social event and has no specific, definite relationship with the idolatrous concepts or practices. then for you to tell them, hey, hello, God bless you, may you enjoy this, or even to send a card or two, I don't think it is irreligious. I don't think Islam is so narrow-minded as to stop you from even saying them a good word of good wishes during the days of their celebrations. We, as a practice, from this mosque, we send cards to all Ahmadi friends who are Christians during this period and say, Allah bless you and may you enjoy this celebration. At least we share the holy memory of Jesus Christ. You may believe in him to be a different thing, but we believe in him to be a real human prophet of God. So as far as the person, the reality of Christ is concerned, we also share. So if it is a belated celebration of his birth, no problem. We must also send you our greetings. Right?
Right. Thank you.
And with that, I think we come to the end of the hour, haven't we? Right. You see, Abdul Rahman already is an Ahmadi, mashallah, of standing over so many years. How many? 2, 3, 4? Huh?
2 years now.
2 years now. He is a man, when he walked into my room for his first interview, he was presented as a scholarly non-Ahmadi Muslim from Ethiopia who would question me regarding a few things. And as his attitude was that of man of knowledge who is very sure of what he is to say. Within 2 or 3 questions, he started nodding in favor of my answers, in support of my answers. And I was surprised at him. I said, what a man he is. He must be true inside, Despite the fact that he seemed to be defeated in his argument, he was not in any way disturbed or embarrassed. His eyes enlightened. He said, yes, I think you're right. And from then I knew he belongs here. And I think within a matter of a day or two, you became Ahmadi, or later on?
Later on, after 2 weeks.
After?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. But he was put on the road of thinking in the same terms. Perhaps he investigated some more. And after 2 weeks, he walked into the same office and said, accept my hand, I belong here. So I hope you convey the message to all the other countrymen with the same style and spirit, and tell them you have experienced light and truth and peace in Ahmadiyyat and you have not experienced elsewhere before. Right or wrong?
Right.
Yes. All right. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much.